This time, a slumber party and a silver flask. Hello there, this is Victor Ives, inviting you to join me for the golden age of radio theater. Once again, we're going to turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you the greatest radio shows of all time. First, from November 6, 1946, an episode of the Great Gildersleeve. In this show, Marjorie has a slumber party. And later this hour on the Hall of Fantasy, the Silver Flask.
The Great Gildersleeve. Each week at this time, from Hollywood, California, Harold Peary as the Great Gildersleeve.
Well, let's see what's going on at the Great Gildersleeve's house. Sounds like the wrong house, but it's not. It's a pajama party. The fact is, Gildersleeve's niece, Marjorie, is entertaining 3 of her most intimate girlfriends overnight tonight, and the whole gang has just finished supper.
Hey, girls, you want to see a card trick? No, Leroy.
Let me remind you, Leroy, that this is not our party. It's Marjorie's.
I'm only trying to help entertain.
This is strictly for girls, my boy. You and I aren't even supposed to be here.
Well, I got a new trick that's a pip. Where are the cards, Marge? How would I know?
Let me tell you about this character. I was walking down the corridor.
I think I left them in my raincoat pocket.
Well, anyway, I was just walking down the corridor, minding my own business, when this character popped out of Miss Turley's room. And what do you think he said to me? You'll never believe it. Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't believe it.
He couldn't.
I'm telling you, that's why I think Marjorie is getting the
Really?
truth. Don't you think so, Francis?
Oh, absolutely.
How do they do it? Girls, what's so strange about somebody saying good morning?
Oh, I couldn't possibly explain it to you, Unky. But if you could see this character.
Okay, ladies, if you'll give me your attention, please.
Leroy, must you always be showing off?
Who's showing off? I'm just doing a card trick. Take a card, Mary Louise. Any card at all.
Oh, look out. He's trying to make you take a certain one, then he'll know.
Any card at all.
Leroy, the girls didn't come over here to see you do card tricks.
Oh, but if the...
Say, Marjorie, do you know the name of that boy that sits next to Clubby Travis in history? Oh, sure. His name is Al. He's cute, isn't he? Oh, do you think so? Clubby says he's an awful drill. Well, how would Clubby know? I mean, after all, he's Oh, Francie, you're terrible.
Mary Louise, take a card, will you?
Leroy. Uncle Mort, isn't it time for Leroy to be in bed?
Yes, by George it is. Leroy, 8:30, off to Bilo's.
Unc, it's Friday night.
You still need your sleep, Leroy.
But the girls want to see some card tricks.
Your health comes first, Leroy. Perhaps you can do a few tricks to the girls in the morning. Now beat it.
Gosh, every time I'm having a good time.
Good night, my boy.
Good night, Leroy.
Good night.
Good night, Leroy.
Good night.
Say, girls.
What's on the radio, Marjorie? I don't know. What time is it?
Francie, have you ever seen my imitation of a hummingbird in flight?
It's around 8:30. There must be some music on somewhere. What'd you say, Mr. Gildersleeve? I'll try it.
Girls, listen. Did I ever tell you the story of the absent-minded college professor and the tomcat? This professor was very absent-minded, and one day
What
he...
station is Clark Spielman's orchestra? It's about in the middle.
One day he was about to walk into his classroom when he suddenly remembered he'd forgotten to feed his cat.
I think I got it.
He remembered he'd forgotten to feed his cat. The cat was at home, and of course he was late, so... Girls!
Unky, please.
Well, anyway, in the end, the professor kicks his toothbrush out of the house and brushes his teeth with a cat.
Uncle Mort, we're trying to listen to the music.
Oh, music. Well, that's not a bad little orchestra. I like jazz when it's well done. Garden of Eden, just made for two, with nothing to mar our joy.
Uncle Mort.
There would be such wonderful things to do. I would say such wonderful things to you.
Is he kidding?
If you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy.
Uncle Mort, would you come out in the hall a minute, please?
Me, Hall? What's the matter?
Why don't you go out somewhere? We can't have any fun while you're here.
I was going in a minute. I didn't know you were in such a big hurry.
Oh, now don't take it that way, please, Unky.
I'm merely trying to entertain your little friends, my dear. If my humble efforts are not pleasing, you only have to say so.
Unky, that's not it. Not exactly.
Say no more. Say no more. Ladies, I regret that a previous engagement has to tear me away from you.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve, must you go?
I must. Good night, ladies.
Good night, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Get my hat. Again, I say, good night.
Good night.
Wonder what they're laughing at.
We'll return to Marjorie's slumber party on the Great Gildersleeve in just a moment. Once again, Hal Perry as the Great Gildersleeve.
The light's still on up there in Marjorie's room. They've got no business being up at this hour. Darn kids. I don't understand this generation. Haven't they got enough sense to go to bed? Well, I have. Things seem pretty quiet. Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Gildersleeve, is that you?
Yes, Bertie, it's me. Has this racket been going on all evening?
Yes, sir. I thought they'd quiet down when they went to bed, but I was wrong. Yes, sir, I was really wrong.
Have you tried to quiet them, Bertie?
No, sir, I haven't. Leroy tried once.
What happened?
I don't know exactly, but it sounded like a massacre. After that, he locked his door.
Guess I won't try it. Maybe I'll just... How am I going to get any sleep?
I thought about that, Mr. Gildersleeve, so I made up the cot in your study.
It's in my study. That's the worst bed in the house, Bertie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but I'll sleep in it. Good night, Bertie. Try to go to sleep, I guess. Oh, brother, what a bed. Zeef. By George. Kicking me out of my own house, my own flesh and blood. Keeping little Leroy awake. Keeping me awake. Why are they so quiet all of a sudden? I don't trust a bunch of girls together. Mighty funny. All of a sudden, they're quiet. Ribble-deeble.
Well, for heaven's sake, still sound asleep. Uncle Morris.
Chimp, what's it for?
Unky, wake up. It's almost noon. Unky, it's 11:45.
It's 11:45. What day is it?
It's Saturday. The girls are all gone. Don't you want some breakfast?
Sure, guess so.
I'm sorry if we drove you out of the house last night, Unky.
What? Oh, yes. Well, if you feel your old uncle is a nuisance.
Oh, it wasn't that, Unky. But the girls wouldn't talk while you were around.
They did nothing but talk. Jabber, jabber, jabber. All at once.
Oh, well, that stuff. But we couldn't tell any secrets while you were there, and that's the only fun.
Secrets?
Can you imagine what Francie tried to tell us? She claims she's engaged.
Francie engaged at her age?
It's a secret engagement, according to her. I'll bet it is.
That's the silliest thing I ever heard of. Francie engaged.
She's only known the boy for 2 months, for heaven's sake. Why, I've known Ben for 4 years.
No, Marjorie.
Do you know what she had the nerve to imply? She implied that I couldn't get engaged if I wanted to. Just because Ben and I have been going together for so long.
Now, don't you be getting any ideas.
For heaven's sake, what's so hard about getting engaged? All you have to do is play your cards right.
Marjorie, really?
Who does she think she is, anyway? I think it'd serve her good and right if somebody showed her up.
Now, see here, young lady, you listen to me.
What?
If this is the kind of ideas you get, there'll be no more pajama parties.
Well, I'm not going to let Francie make a fool out of me.
I'm not going to let you make a fool of yourself.
Oh!
Zip, Marjorie, come back here. Oh, confound it, how do you get out of this thing?
There has been an atmosphere of tension about the Gildersleeve household this evening. Gildersleeve has watched in silence while Marjorie made preparations to receive a gentleman caller. He pretended to read his paper while she selected phonograph records and laid them carefully beside the machine. He let her pull the couch closer to the fire. He made no comment when she turned the bridge lamp low. But after dinner, she came sweeping downstairs dressed to kill.
Well. Marjorie, may I ask what the devil you imagine you're dressed up for?
Holy cats, get a load of Cleopatra.
Marjorie, your uncle asked you a question.
Hey, what have you done to your eyes?
Yes, what have you done to him? What is that stuff?
It's merely a little simple eyeshadow. I fail to see why there should be all this fuss about
Eyeshadow? Now, see here.
Oh, Uncle Mort.
No nice girl uses eyeshadow, and no nice boy would go out with a girl who does.
I fail to see why using eyeshadow is any worse than using lipstick.
I have forbidden you to use lipstick repeatedly.
She still does, though.
Oh, mind your business.
Is this true, my dear? Are you using lipstick?
Well, what's the harm if you haven't even noticed?
So, you deliberately disobey my orders.
Uncle Mort, I am not going to look ridiculous for anybody.
You look ridiculous right now. That dress, where did you get that?
This just happens to be a dress that you bought me yourself.
I never bought you any dress like that. With those shoulders.
They're elastic. You just pull them up or pull them down.
Well, pull them up.
Really?
I never bought that dress anyway. Marjorie, I don't know what's gotten into you.
She thinks she's Lana Turner.
Oh, go away.
Why, a nice boy like Ben, if he could see you like this, he'd be horrified.
You want to bet?
I'm not going to argue. Go upstairs and change your clothes. Did you hear me? Go upstairs and change your clothes. Leroy, leave the room. I will remind you, my dear, that I am still your uncle.
Well, let me remind you, Uncle Mort, that I am not a baby.
You never looked more like one in your life. You look like some child dressed up in her mother's clothes. Now go upstairs and take off that ridiculous outfit. And take a washcloth and...
Ben.
It's Ben. Oh, boy, wait.
Leroy, wait.
Wait, Leroy. Well, my dear, are you going
Uncle
to...
Mort, it's too late.
It's not too late. You've never hesitated to keep him waiting before. I'll entertain him while you're changing. Well, are you going to do as I tell you?
Oh, why do you always have to ruin everything? Every time I try to do anything or have any fun, you always have to ruin it.
Now, that's not true. All right, Leroy. You can open the door.
Hi, Ben.
Well, come in, Ben.
Hello, Leroy. Hi, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Come in, my boy. Come in.
Oh, thanks. Is Marge around? I thought she was expecting me.
Boy, is she ever expecting you. You ought to see it. Oh, yeah, she's around.
Yeah, she'll be down in a moment. Leroy, I think it's your bedtime. School tomorrow, you know.
Oh, for corn's sake, all I ever get is sent to bed. Why don't you ever make mine?
Leroy, go this instant.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben. These little disciplinary measures are sometimes necessary.
I know. Good night, Leroy.
Good night.
You don't mind my saying good night to him?
No, of course not. I always make a point of saying it myself. Good night, Leroy. Children, let's go into the living room, shall we? Yes, Ben, you'll be having children of your own someday. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Sit down.
Thanks.
Ben, I'd like to have a little talk with you.
All right, sir. When?
Well, right now, if you're not doing anything.
Just waiting for Marge.
Well, that's good. Ben?
You're sure she's expecting me?
Oh, yes, she's expecting you, all right.
I thought from the way she talked on the phone, it sounded like she had something on her mind.
That's just it. Ben?
Yes, sir?
I don't know how much you know about women, Ben.
Well, isn't much.
Well, at least you know that much. Marjorie is just a girl, of course, Ben. But she's at the age where she's becoming a woman. You must always bear that in mind.
Oh, I do.
And as a girl becomes a woman, Ben, she tends to think more and more of men.
I guess it works both ways.
Exactly. Now, Marjorie is a girl, as I say, and girls sometimes get ideas that are too big for them. I mean, they get a little ahead of themselves. You know?
No, sir.
You don't? Well, what I'm trying to say, Ben, a girl like Marjorie gets notions sometimes, and... quiet. Here she comes.
Marge?
Yeah, I heard her door open upstairs. Don't let her know what we were talking about.
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Come on, let's go out in the hall. Well, my dear, it's about... Well... Marjorie.
Hello, Marge. Gosh.
Now she's wearing earrings just to make me mad.
You're listening to the Great Gildersleeve on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Later this hour, the Hall of Fantasy. Now, back to the Great Gildersleeve.
I tell you, Peavy, the girl is getting out of hand. Why, it's got so now if any friend of hers turns up, the first thing she does is shove me out of the door. Pretty soon I won't have any place to stay.
Oh, I imagine Marjorie is really very fond of you, Mr. Gildersleeve. It's just that she's at a difficult age.
Yeah, she sure is.
We're all at a difficult age, I guess. I'm perfectly willing to admit that I'm not the soul of reason at all times, but then neither is she.
Who?
Mrs. Peavy.
Who's talking about Mrs. Peavy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess my mind wandered there for a little. What were we talking? Oh, yes. Your niece. Marjorie.
Glad you remember her name.
Well, what about Marjorie?
I've just been telling you. Peavy, I don't believe you listen to half of what I say.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
I only hope you follow your prescriptions more closely than you follow a conversation.
Well, Mr. Gildersleeve, a prescription is a matter of life and death. But some of the conversation I have to listen to...
Well...
Oh, not yours. Oh, you're always welcome here, Mr. Gildersleeve. In fact, I always look forward to your dropping in as one of the bright spots in my day. That's the kind of a day I have.
Well, that's a nice remark.
Oh, I don't know what's the matter with me today, Mr. Gildersleeve. I guess it's just that I have problems.
You have problems. You ought to hear about my problems.
I thought I had.
Did you ever have a niece who set out in cold blood to get herself engaged? When you tried to reason with her, she kicked you out of the house?
No, Mr. Gildersleeve, I can't say that I ever did.
Well, don't talk to me about problems.
And did you ever have a wife want to take her to the picture show? And she's been after me for a week now.
After all, I'm the girl's guardian. I think I have a right to a little respect.
What in the world she wants to see the thing for? To each his own. I understand it's a sad picture.
Just hope she isn't making a fool of herself with Ben, that's all.
I don't know if I can stand a sad picture this week.
Not worried about Ben particularly. He's a nice boy, but Marjorie...
By the way, how is Marjorie?
She's fine.
Maybe I'll just stay home and send the old girl to the pictures by herself.
Never should have left her alone with it. Never should have left the house. I'd give anything to know what's going on over there. I'd give $1 million just to see what she's up to.
Oh, I love Rimsky-Korsakov. Don't you?
Is that what it is?
Song of India, Rimsky-Korsakov.
Hey, you ought to be on information, please.
He also wrote Scheherazade. He was Russian.
Oh,
I love all his music. It has so much color.
so much what?
Never mind. I like to lie back and just let the melody take me in its arms. Why don't you lie back too, Ben?
Oh, I'm perfectly comfortable.
But you seem so stiff. Relax.
I'm relaxed.
Oh, Ben, relax. There, that's better, isn't it?
Sure. Anything you say, Marge.
Ben.
Oh, there's the record.
Oh, don't get up.
But the record, that's the end.
Well, let it go. It'll turn itself off.
Well, it isn't doing it. Look, I better...
Ben, let it go.
You want to wear out your record?
I don't care about the record, Ben.
Oh, okay. It's your record.
Ben.
Something's wrong with that automatic, though. Yeah?
Ben, why have you been the way you've been this evening?
What way have I been?
The way you've been.
I don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do. You've seemed sort of on your guard all evening.
I have?
Yes. Ben, don't you like me anymore?
Like you? Gosh.
Well, then, why do you act so strange?
I don't know. Guess I'm kind of buffaloed or something.
Why?
Well, you're different tonight, Marge. You've changed.
Don't you like it?
Yeah. That's why I'm being careful.
Careful of what?
Well, if I'm not careful, I might try and kiss you or something.
Would that be so terrible?
Well, I know a lot of fellas go around kissing girls, but I don't do that way. If I kiss a girl, that means we're engaged, practically. Go ahead and laugh if you want to.
I don't feel like laughing, Ben. I feel like crying.
What for?
Oh, Ben!
Hey! Marge, I'd better go turn off that machine.
Don't worry. I won't ask you to kiss me.
Huh? Oh, there's somebody at the front door, Marge. Your uncle, probably.
Well, you needn't jump. Goodness knows you haven't done anything.
Hey. What's the idea? Where are you going?
Say goodnight to Uncle Mort for me. And tell him he needn't worry. I couldn't have been in safer hands.
I don't get it. What did I do? Well, anyway, good night. Oh, hi, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Marjorie gone upstairs, has she?
Yeah,
Wanted to leave you alone with me, I suppose.
I suppose so. I don't know.
I don't know what's been going on here, but I think you might at least have turned off the phonograph.
Oh, meant to tell you it's busted. The automatic, I mean.
I'm not blaming you, Ben. It's Marjorie. She's very careless about certain things. You might as well know that.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's go into my study, get this thing over. I suppose you have something you want to ask me.
Ask you?
Well, Ben?
Hi.
Sit down, my boy. I'll try to make this easy for you.
Easy?
Ben, don't ever have a niece.
No, sir. I'll try not to.
Well, let's get to the point. Now, I have nothing against you, Ben. You've always been welcome around here. Always glad to have you around.
Well, thanks.
But you must realize, Marjorie is still young yet. Oh, I know she's been after you all evening to get engaged. Girls get those.
Is that what she was after?
Well, didn't you...
Oh, boy, was I dumb.
Ben!
Gee, thanks, Mr. Gildersleeve. Thanks for the tip.
Wait, Ben.
Hey, Marge. Marge, come down, will you? Please, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you something.
Son of a gun, why can't I ever keep my big mouth shut?
Good night, Ben.
Goodbye.
Marjorie?
Well,
Well,
I suppose you were listening to every word we said.
I did nothing of the kind. But I think I have a right to know what's going on here. Marjorie, did he...
Naturally. I said he would, didn't I?
Now, listen here. I'm your guardian, and there'll be no engagements around here without my permission. So you can just call it off.
Who said I was engaged?
But you just said that Ben,
I told Ben I couldn't possibly think of getting married for at least 10 years.
after leading him on like that? Marjorie, I don't understand you.
I'm going to have a career first. I'm not like Francie.
Oh, that's all. Well, and what career have you chosen, my dear?
I'm going to be a model.
A model?
So's Mary Louise, and so's Kay. We all decided we're going to be models.
Listen, we'll have no more pajama parties here, understand? Now go to bed. I ask you folks, what gets into girls? Now, Marjorie makes a lot of sense by herself. Nice girl, too. When she gets 2 or 3 of her friends, I ask you. Good night.
At the end of our show this time, we're going to talk about Peter Lorre. What radio shows did he appear on? Right now, appearing on the golden age of radio theater, the Hall of Fantasy, and the story of the Silver Flask.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Silver Flask.
And so it was that you town caused the silver flask to be made. Small and thin it was, with a diamond embedded into its face, so that it could see. And he summoned the sorcerer Charming, and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done. For goodness, it will return good. For evil, it will bring death.
It began commonly enough. Chris and Pat Redfield and I had dropped into an art dealer's shop on the avenue. I don't know what made us go in. I think it's mere circumstance. There was an auction going on.
Going once, going twice, 3 times and gone. Sold to the lady in the brown fur coat.
Oh, that was a bargain, Chris, a real bargain.
I don't know, maybe.
I wonder what'll be up next.
Probably an old bed warmer. We might as well leave. I don't think there's anything here we'd be interested in, Pat.
Oh, just a few more minutes, Chris.
But we'll be late for... Oh, all right, Pat, but just a few minutes.
Oh, now there's a husband for you.
May I ask for your attention once more, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Now I ask you to look at the object in front of me. It's a flask, a silver flask, perhaps tarnished a trifle, but silver nonetheless. How old this object is, no one has been able to ascertain. How it came into the possession of this company is a mystery, but the workmanship is definitely Oriental. For a collector's item, it would be perfect.
I like the
Now,
looks
who
of
will
that.
Bid
start
for
the
it, then.
bidding on
I
this
think I will.
valuable piece of art? Come, ladies and gentlemen, who will be the first to make a bid on the silver flask?
Go ahead, Chris.
$10.
$10. The man in the blue overcoat bids $10. Do I hear 15? 15.
20.
$20 for the silver flask before me. $20 is the bid. Do I hear 25? 25.
30.
50.
50.
No, Chris.
$50 is the bid. $50. Do I hear more? $50 is the bid. Going once. $50 going twice. $50 for the 3rd time. Sold to Mr. Henry Stebbins.
Come on, let's get out of here.
All right, Chris.
You really wanted that flask, didn't you, Chris?
Yes, I don't know why, though.
Oh, it just caught your eye, that's all, darling.
Excuse me. Pardon me, please. Will you let me go through?
Now, look, Chris, there's the man who outbid you.
Oh, he seems to be coming over here.
He's waving to us.
Wonder what he wants.
Please, madam, will you let me by? Thank you. Excuse me, sir. I couldn't help but notice you bidding against me. I'm terribly sorry that only one of us could own the silver flask.
Oh, it's perfectly all right.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stebbins, Henry Stebbins. I'm retired now, you see, and my hobby is collecting unusual art objects. Your name is...
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Stebbins. This is Larry Reardon. How do you do? My wife, Pat Redfield.
How do you do?
And Chris is mine.
Really?
I'm very pleased to meet you, all of you, you know. Are you by any chance interested in collecting art objects, Mr. Redfield?
I have an interest. I'm not a collector.
Mr. Redden?
I'm afraid I'm in the same category as Chris.
I see. Well, I was wondering. I do have a rather good collection, you know, and I hope you won't think it presumptuous, but it's so infrequent that one meets people who are interested in the same things as he. Why don't you, all of you, come to dinner at my house next week? Say Monday?
Why, of course, Mr. Stebbins, we'd be delighted.
Here's my card. You will come, won't you? I'm sure you'll find it very interesting.
The following Monday, we went to Henry Stebbins' house. He seemed quite wealthy, for the house was large and lavishly furnished. After the meal, he showed us his collection, pausing finally when he came to the silver flask.
As you can see, the flask is a bit different, shall we say, from when you saw it last.
Why, it's as bright as a new coin.
That stone in the center, it wasn't there when I saw it at the auction.
Oh, yes, it was. It had been covered over by a thin layer of silver. I noticed the imperfection and took it off. Underneath was the diamond.
Are you serious?
Are you sure it's a diamond?
Oh, quite sure, Mr. Redfield. You see, the silver flask has quite a history. It's really very ancient.
How old is it?
Oh, at least 3,000 years, possibly more. It's a relic of the Yuan dynasty, lost for over 2 centuries.
How do you know these facts, Mr. Stebbins?
Oh, I've been watching for the flask for several years. Many times I was sure I'd found it, but needless to say, I was disappointed. At last, however, it's in my possession. Would you like to know some of its history?
Oh,
yes, very much so.
All right, then. It was first ordered made by the Chinese Emperor Yu Zhuan, made for him by the sorcerer Zhao Ming, who also was responsible for a certain jade dagger I would like to possess. Zhao Ming bestowed this magic upon it. For goodness, it would return good, and for evil, it would bring death. The flask was in the family of the Yu Zhuan for many generations. However, 100 years after it was first made, the last of the Zhuans was emperor. A member of his court plotted against him. Strangely enough, the original motivation was possession of the silver flask. But the night he came to steal the flask...
Who dares enter Emperor's bedchamber? Who is in here? What do you want? Where are you? It is so dark my eyes cannot see.
It is pity you not see dagger which brings you death.
Our eyes were upon Stebbins as he talked. Yet we saw not the man before us, but the scene which his words conjured up in our minds. Is this story true, Mr. Stebbins?
Every word of it, Mr. Reardon.
Is that all to the story?
Oh, no, not at all. There's a good deal more to it. A good deal.
I'd like to hear the rest of the story.
You're sure I'm not boring you?
No.
All right, then. Let me see. Where was I?
The Emperor had just been murdered.
Oh, yes. What had originally started as a covetous fascination about the silver flask resulted in the murder of the last of the Zhuans. The killer knew of the supposed magical properties of the flask, yet he thought it only legend, with no true significance. He took the silver flask with him when he left the side of the murdered emperor. No one knew of the emperor's death. When the killer retired for the night, he put the silver flask next to his bed. But he was unable to get to sleep, and his gaze was drawn to the diamond in the flask, the all-seeing eye that Zhao Ming had given it. It began to glow and shine in the darkness, becoming a thing alive. The killer watched it in horrible fascination. And then he heard a voice.
And so it is that the prophecy of Zhao Ming shall be fulfilled. For the evil committed, your reward is death.
And from the mouth of the flask poured a crawling white fog which became dense, and then assumed the size and shape of a demon of the night, and it reached its hands toward his throat.
Stay away from me! Stay away from me!
So perished the killer of the last of the Zhuans.
It's a rather fantastic story.
Fantastic? Perhaps. The pattern has been repeated many times since, and perhaps it will be again.
There is something quite fascinating about it.
Yes, Mr. Redfield. Quite fascinating.
Of course, all that happened many years ago. I don't believe it's actually true. It's probably like so many other legends that change during the passage of the centuries. Endows a person or object with supernatural power, even though what actually occurred originally was nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh, that's quite possible, Mr. Reardon. But as a collector of these objects and their histories, I much rather prefer to believe the legend, as you call it.
Chris? Chris?
What?
Oh, you're so quiet. What were you thinking about?
It's really quite fascinating. The flask. I can hardly take my eyes off it.
The evening ended shortly thereafter with another invitation from Henry Stebbins that would return soon. Chris was silent as we drove home, his mind lost in thought, only occasionally joining in the conversation. I knew that he was thinking about the silver flask. I was inclined to think of the story Henry Stebbins had told us as coming from a man who was highly nervous, a man who, because of his loneliness and preoccupation with himself, would read into the slightest glance a willingness to commit murder. 3 days later, Pat Redfield dropped into my office.
I hope you don't mind my coming in to see you like this, Larry.
Oh, of course not, Pat. It's a pleasure. Cigarette?
No, thanks.
No. What seems to be the trouble?
Oh, how did you...
What a look on your face. What's bothering you?
It's Chris.
Chris?
That's right, Larry. I know it's a strange term to use, but for the last 3 days he seems like a man possessed. Even at night when he's asleep, he has a nightmare. He talks and screams out.
When did this start?
That night we'd seen Henry Stebbins. I can't understand most of his words, but every once in a while I hear him say something about the silver flask. He seems to be struggling with someone or something. Oh, I just don't know. I'm so worried. I can't even think.
Oh, it's a story that Stebbins told us.
I know, but there must be some truth to it, Larry. Look at the tremendous fascination the silver flask holds for Chris. Sometimes I even think he'd be willing to kill Stebbins just to get his hands on it.
In the evenings, I took to parking my car across the street from Stebbins' house to see who his callers might be. About a week after Pat had been to my office, I'd been parked across from his house for several hours. It was almost midnight, and I was on the point of starting my car and driving home, when on my side of the street, about half a block away, I saw a familiar figure walking towards me. He walked slowly, like a man in a trance, his head turned so that his eyes were on Stebbins' house. Chris? What are you doing out here, Chris?
I might ask you the same question.
They're waiting for you.
Why me? Why not someone else?
Because no one else has an interest in the silver flask.
Has Pat been talking to you?
Not recently.
Then you know all about it, don't you, Larry? That I want the silver flask, that I'm going to get it now, tonight.
No, you're not, Chris.
Yes, I am, Larry. Now, get out of my way.
Put that knife back in your pocket, you fool.
It's pretty, isn't it? Just press a button and the blade snaps open. Out of my way.
You're not going anywhere with that knife.
No, we'll see about that. Oh, you asked for it, Larry. Oh, let go of my arm.
Drop that knife.
Drop it. Drop it. All right.
That's better. Take this little thing. Now get into the car.
Oh, I'll get into the car, all right, Larry. I won't make any fuss about that. You think you're doing me a favor by stopping me. I don't. Maybe my chance is lost tonight, but I'll get another. Don't worry about that. There isn't anything that's going to stand in my way. Not you, not Pat, most certainly not Stebbins. I'd even commit murder to get that silver flask.
We'll return to the Hall of Fantasy and the silver flask in just a moment. Once again, the Hall of Fantasy.
Chris was quiet and sullen as I drove him home. He didn't say a word to me all the while we were together. I watched him enter the front door of his house, and I drove back to my apartment. When I got there, I called Henry Stebbins. Mr. Stebbins, this is Larry Reardon.
Oh, yes.
You'd better make sure that your house is locked up tight from now on.
Your friend?
Yes. I've been watching the front of your house for several nights. Tonight, about midnight, I saw Chris. I think he intended to break in.
I'll be careful. Thanks for calling.
In the morning, for some reason, Henry Stebbins phoned first the Redfields and then me, and asked us to come to dinner that night. I couldn't understand his line of reasoning unless he enjoyed playing a cat and mouse game with Chris. Pat didn't want to go, but Chris insisted, and promptly at 7 we were at Stebbins' house. We finished the meal and adjourned to the library.
I'd like to see your collection again, Mr. Stebbins.
Oh, I'll be glad to show it to you. Would you two like to come with us?
No, I'll stay here if you don't mind.
So will I.
All right. Then just you and I'll go to see it, Chris.
Suits me.
We'll be back in a little while.
I wonder if we should have let him go alone.
Chris won't try anything while we're here, Pat.
I hope you're right.
Besides, I'm sure that Stebbins can protect himself.
Oh, I'm worried about him, Larry. Chris has changed so. When we're alone, he never says anything anymore. He just doodles on a scratch pad with a pencil. Always draws the same picture.
The silver flask?
Yes. I think something's wrong with his mind.
Oh, I don't think it's any...
Go with it. Now, just a minute, Mr. Redfield. Where is it? Where's the silver flask?
Come on, Pat. We shouldn't have let him go alone.
I think it would be best to put the flask away. I know it disturbs you quite strongly.
I could kill you,
Oh, we
Stebbins.
gotta stop them, Larry.
Don't worry.
Now, stay away from me, Redfield.
You'd be better off dead.
No. All right, now, stop it.
Stop it, both of you. He knew I wanted to see the flask. He hid it on purpose.
Thought it would be the wisest thing to do.
Chris, how could you do such a thing?
Let's just forget this ever happened.
I'm perfectly willing to do that, you know. I really don't mean to gloat, Mr. Redfield, but I have the silver flask and you haven't, and I know you wanted it.
Why, you...
You see, that's why I hid it from you. After all, as long as you don't know where it is, my life is safe. Isn't that right?
Stebbins was right, of course. As long as Chris didn't know the whereabouts of the silver flask, Stebbins' life would be safe. But if Chris knew where it was with his overpowering obsession to own it and Stebbins stood in the way, his life would mean nothing to Chris. For Chris had told me that he wouldn't stop, even at murder.
And so it was that Utron caused the silver flask to be made. And he summoned the sorcerer Charming, and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done.
2 days later, I was home in the apartment. I'd sat down with a good book, and it was about 11 o'clock when the phone rang. Yes?
Oh, Larry, this is Pat. You'd better go over to the Stebbins house right away.
Why?
Chris came home this evening, sat and fidgeted all night long, and then about 15 minutes ago he muttered something about the silver flask and ran out of the house.
You think he was going to see Stebbins?
Yes, I think so. You have to hurry over there, Larry, before he does anything.
Have you called Stebbins?
Yes, I warned him. But Chris might do anything. Oh, go over there, Larry. See that there's nothing wrong. I have the strangest feeling that Stebbins is going to die tonight.
At last the time had come. I knew it would, sooner or later. Chris had to be stopped from entering that house at all costs. I hopped into my car and drove over to Stebbins' place as quickly as I could. Within 15 minutes, I was knocking on his front door.
Oh, I'm glad you came, Larry.
Pat phoned you, didn't she?
Yes, I'm sorry I took so long coming to the door, but I was looking out the front window to see who it was. Come in. It's strange what power the silver flask has, Larry.
You should never have invited him back here after I told you what had happened.
We might as well go into the library.
You know, I think you better call the police.
You think it's that serious?
Yes.
I'll call from the library.
Is your house secure?
Oh, yes. Everything's locked and bolted. Sit down, won't you? I'll phone the police.
Stebbins, the flask still hidden?
What? Oh, no. It's over there on the table. Perhaps the police can send a man out and you'll be able to go home. Oh, hello? My name is Henry Stebbins. I have good reason to believe that someone is going to make an attempt on my life tonight. What? Name? Chris Redfield. He's wanted something of mine for some time. He'll do anything to get it. Yes, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'll have a man out here in 15 minutes.
I didn't tell you that Chris had a knife the night he came here to kill you, did I?
No, you didn't.
Well, that's funny. Still have it with me.
Well, we'll give it to the police when they get here.
Yes, I'm sure they'll find it.
What?
The knife. I'm sure the police will find it.
What do you mean?
This is Chris's knife. You should never have been afraid of him, Mr. Stebbins. Chris would never really kill you. But I would.
Stay away from me.
I can't do that. You see, Stebbins, everything fits in perfectly now. You've warned the police against Chris. They'll find his knife. They'll never suspect me.
You're insane.
No, far from it. I merely want the silver flask.
The curse. Don't forget the curse.
Who believes in curses, Mr. Stebbins?
Don't come any closer.
Just close enough. Ah! Good night, Mr. Stebbins. So, I have the silver flask. It stands in the dresser next to my bed. The diamond shines so in the dark. It seems almost to be getting brighter. I imagine the police are looking for Chris right. The diamond is getting brighter. And there's something else. The sound. Like the sound of escaping air. There's something here in this room with me. Something.
And so it was that you charmed caused the silver flask to be made. Small and thin it was, with a diamond embedded into its face, so that it could see. And he summoned the sorcerer Charming and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done. For goodness it will return good, for evil it will bring death.
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.
And that's the Silver Flask from the Golden Age of Radio Theater, broadcast in 1953. I'll be back in just a moment to talk about Peter Lorre. A listener from South Carolina wants to know, what radio show did the movie actor Peter Lorre appear on? Well, there are two I know of. First of all, Mystery in the Air, a 1947 summer replacement for Abbott and Costello. And later, in 1953, a series called Nightmare. Mystery in the Air was a rather good series with superb actors like Agnes Moorehead, John Brown, and Louis Van Rooten. The announcer on the series was Harry Morgan, you know, the Colonel on TV's MASH. And when it comes to the show Nightmare, well, I guess the most exciting thing about it was the opening. Out of the darkness of night, from the shadows of the senses, comes this fantasy of fear. Unfortunately, this mutual show didn't live up to the promise of the epigraph. Those are the two shows I know of on which Peter Lorre appeared. This is Victor Ives, appearing on the Golden Age of Radio Theater, thanking you for being with us and inviting you to join us again next time we turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you the greatest radio shows of all time.
For a copy of today's program, call 1-800-326-0296 and refer to show number 15. That number again is 1-800-326-0296. And remember to refer to show number 15.